So we just did 2 sets of improv sessions, one for specific teams and squads. So we basically let our team leads say, look, guys, these are the challenges we have with communication, with performance, with other things. And, apart from things we're doing for professional development and team bonding, etc., we really tried to also move the needle using improv techniques. And I think this really solves the problem that you can't solve with typical professional development. It just addresses more the emotional part, the collaboration part. And then we also did the whole session for the company. We're remote first, we're kind of like hybrid setting. And so helping people bond and connect on like really foolish yet meaningful moments is really, really important, because then they'll go back to their like Zoom calls and just see a face in a Zoom chat. And I think it's just really important they can relate to each other and remember some cool moments together, even if these moments are anyhow not related to work itself, and it's just some fun moments they had in the improvisation session. I'd say look, I see a couple of use cases for improv. Like I'm doing personal training with you myself, right? It really helps me with all sorts of things around empathy, around leadership, around better communication. At the same time, I think for all teams that are remote or hybrid, you got to do this when you do team events, because it helps people connect. And as you grow past, 10 people in size where everybody's like kind of friends, you gotta be able to actually create meaningful experiences at scale, and improv helps you do this. So like if you're not professional, I as a CEO or my head of people would never be able to you can do icebreakers, but they work differently. Improv is a special design technique. You really help people connect with each other. And this is regardless of their team department, they just all mix up together in a crazy mix. And then at the same time, I would recommend it to all sorts of people who want to actually get successful, get more productive, get more efficient in work, because improv really helps you get to a whole new ground when it comes to communication, empathy, understanding of people, and really getting your ideas across. And what we always practice in this game, just building on top of each other. If you don't have the company working this way, it's just very hard to scale a business. And therefore, I would recommend it to literally any startup, any company that wants to be better. It's one of those things you have to use alongside mentorship, alongside professional training. You can, of course, also do without it, but then, you want to diversify techniques. You want to give your people more opportunities. And improv is this sort of hidden gem. So people usually don't know about it. I consider it to be my secret sauce in building a successful team. And then at the same time, for anyone who is hybrid or remote first, I think it's just a must, because in remote or hybrid setting, you gather people for just a couple days for a team event. You need to have really good design of the events to make it work, and improv is always a part of our events. I think it worked very well for us first time. It's hard to measure impact in numbers, right? So for people who ask me okay, how exactly do you think of success? I think of success if people talk about this stuff, if people remember this stuff, if people relate to it and have internal jokes after this, it actually did work. And the fact that they can now remember each other, not because they work together, but because, they had a memorable moment, will mean that they will talk directly in Slack. They'll have better information exchange in the company. They will react better to each other in a work setting, and it won't be just oh, a boring presentation by this guy. It's going to be, oh, this is the guy who was toilet paper and he was a toilet and somebody was an ass. And this type of things are very hard to forget. They're foolish enough. And I think this is exactly the reason. So we're trying to build this culture of really close bonds. And as the team is growing, we see increasing need for improv. So we also expect to invite you for our further events. I think it's money very well spent. And people come out happier. People come out thinking. People come out thinking about things they wouldn't think about otherwise. There are a lot of content things we can do for them in terms of our industry, specific professional knowledge. But there's little that we know inside the company how to do this. It's almost like if you have a specific problem, you go to a specific doctor. So if you have kind of challenges around communication, around kind of bonding people, around making them communicate more efficiently, which is always something you have in a startup or a growing company, you almost got to do this. And you got to do not only improv, but also other things, yet improv is a quite unique technique for us to use. Oh, fuck. Foolish, fun. Well, I would say that it's a set of playful exercises that help people relax, bond with each other, and yet learn meaningful business lessons in a shape and form that they never ever experienced before. So it's not like we just do some foolish shit and laugh about it. It's like there's actually a hidden message. So what you do very well is like you do some exercise and then you're like, you know, you actually translate it to business context. So basically it's like if you have people who, for example, misinterpret each other or like point fingers or like transfer responsibility, or they have issues kind of getting across the message to their colleagues or collaborating, I would say improv is something that can help you fix this in a non-obvious format, kind of getting under the skin of people. You can go to them directly, talk in one-on-ones, give them all sorts of feedback, or you can just play a few games. Some things are better to experience than to talk about, and improv is the way to experience it. Well, I think that, you know, you are kind of like a hidden gem in the industry. I'm sure that there are guys doing this like in the US or Europe, maybe like a few of those, calling it differently, you know, with fancy titles. There are all sorts of super expensive coaches. I think for a company like ours, early stage, the way we get the service, the way we get the pricing, the way we get the sessions designed is very customized. So like we maybe even take it for granted, but actually like knowing how it works, it's like usually people come to you and say, hey, this is my service. It's like from A to Z, that's it. Like nothing customized. We come to you and they say, Nikita, we have no idea how many sessions, which games, we have no clue. You help us figure it out. You act also as a consultant. You talk to team leads, and we usually don't have to explain things twice or, you know, like comment too much. You just get it. And I think this is a pretty rare combination to get, that, you know, you're always available, you're willing to help, you help us form the agenda. And I think it's really important that you can also relate to what we're talking about. You're not just doing one size fits all improv theater, you know. You're really trying to understand where we stand, what type of people we are, where people come from, how to do it in an all-inclusive way. And so far it works very well. So I think it's not only the unique service around using improv as a technique, it's also a pretty unique service that we get with you personally, because your approach to things and your level of service and your level of involvement is extremely high. Not even talking about flexibility of us constantly like pushing sessions a couple of hours or changing things here, changing things there. I think we as a company really appreciate it, and we would want to get exactly this type of service.